everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm John, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new film, The Woman King. But before we dive into that, if you are a fan of movie reviews, 4K Blu-ray reviews, tech reviews, game reviews, we try and do them all here on the channel, and nothing would help us out more than by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So The Woman King was directed by Gina Prince Bythewood, and the screenplay was done by Donna Stevens based on her story that she did with Maria Bello. And the film stars Viola Davis, Tusa Madu, I hope I'm saying your name right because she did a fantastic job, Lashonda Lynch, and John Boyega, amongst many others, because this is a very big and wide cast. And this film is based on the true events and the true stories of the Goji, which was a group of female warriors who protect the West African Dahomey Kingdom back in the 16th to the 19th century, I believe. And this just tells a story from the 1820s, and Viola Davis's character plays General Naniska, if I'm pronouncing that right again, I'm sorry. And she basically is now in charge of training the up-and-coming Agoji. And one of those Agoji happens to be Naui, a young woman who just happens to be left at basically the king's doorstep because she lives outside of the kingdom with her parents, and her parents at the very beginning of this film had basically told her that she has to marry someone of their choosing, a rich man, to help bring them, because they live in poverty, they're poor, they don't really get to eat, so for them, their ticket to wealth is basically just whoring out their daughter to another man to basically take care of her and their family. And when she doesn't want that, because this is just an old, disgusting man who, he's done, he hits her right in front of her father, and, a real man would, step up and obviously be like, hey, you don't hit my daughter, but they are so desperate that they have no choice but to do this. And when she rejects that man, her father says, all right, that's it, I'm sacrificing you to the king, who's played by John Boyega in this. And she basically gets put into training to be one of these warriors, and Viola Davis happens to be the one who is going to be the head of the one training her. But her mentor is played by Lashonda Lynch, and everyone is going to give Viola Davis a lot of credit for this film as far as the acting performances go. And don't get me wrong, Viola Davis might have the best acting performance in this film, and she might even receive an Academy Award nomination for this. But Lashonda Lynch really does just steal the show for me in every scene that she is in. Her performance is really incredible. It's gonna get a little bit unnoticed, I feel like, just because Viola Davis's character is gonna overshine her. And Viola Davis is one of our greatest actresses ever. Obviously, she's won an Academy Award for Fences, which is actually my personal favorite of all her roles. Even though a lot of people are gonna know her for the Suicide Squad roles, or even her role, or when she plays the same role on Peacemaker as Amanda Waller, and that villain that she plays. But Viola Davis is she's a treasure. She really is a great actress. She's very underrated. This is somebody who's been nominated for multiple Academy Awards, like for Doubt, and like I said, she won for Fences. She's even won a Tony Award for Fences. She is just an incredible actress, but one of our greatest up-and-coming actresses is Lashonda Lynch. And she does a great job again here. She did an amazing job in No Time to Die, where she plays Agent 007, which I know caused a lot of controversy at the time, but she's just such a good actress, and for me, she stole the show in this, and I really want to point out how good of a job she did at acting in this performance, because her performance, she has to have, those quiet moments with Viola Davis's character, and those quiet moments with Tusa Madu's character of Naui. So, she has to really do those quiet moments of acting, not just the big action moments that you might have seen in the trailer. She has to really portray this quiet, calm talking character with a lot of confidence. She really is the mentor to Naui's character, and that relationship is just beautiful. I love their relationship of a mentor teaching somebody who at the beginning of this film she doesn't believe is going to make it as a warrior, because she even tells her that every time somebody gets sacrificed to the king to be trained, they never make it. They never are. And she in the beginning of this film is very weak. Naui. She doesn't know what she's doing, but she knows she wants to do this. She feels it in her that she can do this. Very early in the film, Viola Davis' character gives her a sword to hold and to weld and to, cut the head off of one of these training dummies that they have set up, and she can't do it. And actually, I've never seen this on film, at least that it sticks out in my head, where the weight of the sword is very noticeable, because she holds it out like this. We're all used to somebody grabbing that sword and just swinging it like no problem, but she grabs it, and the weight it causes her whole arm to just drop and the sword to just hit the ground. And I've never really thought about it, but yeah, that's a big piece of metal. That probably is extremely heavy. And then we get to see her really just come up, learning the ways of this and training and getting better and building her relationships with the rest of her fellow Agoji, and that really helps to build up this family mentality and how they protect the king, John Boyega. Now, this story also tells a very moral story, and it really does show what people had to go through back in the 1820s, and especially in West Africa, and it'll make you sick to your stomach. People always talk about like 12 Years a Slave, and we've seen what the American side of like slavery is, but we're looking at the slave trade in this film from the West African side, and how these kings were basically just fighting who gets to sell the slaves to Americans and Europeans. And it's really disgusting, and it's really hard to watch. Especially there's a scene, it's a pretty drawn out scene where we see them put slaves on the slave block to be auctioned off, and they're just throwing water on them. And you see Lashonda Lynch's character just having a hard time standing up, and then we see just a white guy walk up and like lift her head up, look behind her ears. Literally, he grabs her breast like to test the size of it, and it's just disgusting. And this is a pretty long sequence, and it's really supposed to get under your skin, and it really does. And it just shows you just like the lack of humanity at the time, even like to the point where if a character dies, you kind of have to move on for it. I guess that's like really just the part of war in general. Like, you have to lose your humanity, but it's hard to watch, and it's a little bit hard to stomach. But the rest of the film is just so well done, and this is a movie that I really feel like you're going to want to see, because there was a couple moments in this film where I wanted to get out of my seat and just cheer. Like Viola Davis's character, a lot that she has to overcome, because I don't want to spoil anything. I really think this is a movie you should see in theaters, because it is a very good screenplay. It tells a really good story. These are characters that you're going to get behind, because they do a really good job developing these characters and showing you their backstories and their entire stories and what their emotional drives are. Even John Boyega's character, who could have been just a nothing character, but he does a phenomenal job. We even have to see it from him, because we don't see a bad king or a good king. I feel like this is a king that operates very much in the gray area. He's doing what he believes is right, and what he believes is, very much of the time. Like, this is a king with multiple wives, so it's not like we're looking at somebody who is standing on this moral high ground or anything. He has some flaws to him too, but he's kind of portrayed as like having a good relationship with Viola Davis's character, but yet on the other hand, he does some shady stuff too, even if he's trying to change. And John Boyega does a great job portraying that for the camera. And another thing about John Boyega, man, he just looks phenomenal in this movie. My God, it makes me incredibly jealous that there's just no way. Like, you got this guy walking around looking like a literal god, and then you got me walking around looking like a literal garden gnome, and identical. And we share the same earth, so go figure. Some guys just have all the luck. But again, just some great acting performances, some great cinematography in this. I mean, my God, the action sequences, the choreography in them is just so well done. And I'm not the biggest action movie fan. I always prefer the quiet moments where characters are just talking to each other. And there's a lot of that in here, but they do build up to some great action sequences. And they're just choreographed so well. And the score, which is done by Terrence Blanchard, I believe, he did a great job. The score really is awesome. It actually had very much of that like 90s kind of feel. This felt very much like an historical epic that you've seen from like the 90s, like The Last of the Mohegans I was getting vibes from, even if it's a very different kind of tale. But just the way the score sweeps in with those big epic moments, it really did kind of remind me of that. And that's not a bad thing, because these are movies that they really do feel good, and this is something I really think the Academy might take notice of, because it's getting rave reviews right now. It did a great job at its, I believe it debuted September 9th at the Toronto International Film Festival, and it did a great job there, and it got a lot of reviews, and I'm hoping that some of these actresses and actors get some Academy Award nominations. For me, it would definitely be Viola Davis and Lashonda Lynch's character, if possible. I think that those are the two standouts in this film. Like I said, for me, Lashonda Lynch really stole the show, as she always does in everything I ever see her in lately. I just think she's just such a good actress. I can't sell it short. Like, Viola Davis will get all the credit, and deservingly so, because she's, like I said, an amazing actress, but I really was blown away by how everybody else did in this, just specifically Lashonda Lynch. And that's not to sell all the other actors short, because this is just a well-acted, well-choreographed film. As you could probably tell, I really did love this movie, and it's really hard for me to pinpoint some kind of issues that I had with it. The only issues I really could find were towards the very, very, very end, where I thought the movie should have ended, and I thought it was going to end. They had about another scene after that, where I felt like, okay, you know what, you should have probably ended in a scene earlier. I think we all got the point. I didn't think we needed this other quiet scene after this big build-up to what would have been a great ending. I just think it just went a tiny bit too long, and I personally, like I said, I'm not in charge of any filmmaking. I just do reviews. I would have personally cut that, and there was a couple little areas in the pacing where I was like, okay, kind of dips a little too much, and that's really it. And it's really hard to poke holes, but that's what I'm here to do, is just try and find any kind of errors to point out to everybody. But really, this is a great film. I saw it in Dolby Cinemas. You're going to want to go see this in the biggest theater possible, because this is very much a historical, epic film that should be seen on the big screen, and I can recommend that you go to a Dolby Atmos theater, or any theater really, and see this. And if you can't get out to theaters, hopefully this film gets a 4K Blu-ray release. I think it will, and it'll look beautiful on that as well. So if I'm going to give this film a final score, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. Right now it's jockeying for probably my bottom of my top 10 films of this year, which is still saying something, because I've seen a lot of movies this year, and I think this one is just a really good one. So if you're looking for something to see this weekend, you got this, Pearl, or Barbarian in theaters. I haven't seen the other two, but I can recommend this one. And as always, guys, thank you for being a fan of Let's Talk. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and tell all your friends.